All right, for today's lesson, we are going to learn how to change the color of an image. I highly recommend that you select maybe something large like a car or something like that. So I have a couple up already. I have this Porsche 911 GT3, and I'm just going to copy the image. So right-click copy. I'm going to hit create new project, and I'm going to go with the standard 1280 by 720, and I'm going to name my project last name um, color change and hit create. First thing I'm going to do is paste my image by hitting Control V, and I'm going to move it up. Now unfortunately this image is a little bit too big, so I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Scale, zoom out a little bit, and holding shift to resize, I am going to place my image within my allotted space, my workspace. All right, so we're going to make sure that our layer here is actually our background, so we can unlock the background, and then we're going to lock layer 1 so you can just click that lock so that we can't touch that one. All right. Next thing I'm gonna do is duplicate that layer. So let's get used to, not destructing where we start, just in case we need to come back and duplicate it and start over. So we got layer 1 copy here. And the next thing I'm gonna do is go to select and then color range. And what that's gonna allow me to do is select my car here, and you'll see what it'll select, and it's based on what it's going to change. So you want to adjust this so that you can see like most of your car, at least what is, what you want to change. So I want to change the white. I obviously don't want to change the black. So just adjust that. You might have to come back and adjust it if it's really not working. I'm going to leave it at 100, and mode is, you could just leave it on default, and now hit OK. And what that does is it selects everything on here that it thinks that you want to color change. Right, so it included the windows, it included a lot of stuff that I don't want. So maybe instead of doing that, I'll go back to select color range, and you have to click on what color you want to grab first of all. So maybe I'll grab like a whiter white and see if that makes a difference. So now my ground is darker on here, so maybe it won't grab it, which it didn't. Okay. Looks like we're missing a few spots here and back here, so that one's not going to work either. So it's I'll get off of this. It's a little bit of a figure out what works and what doesn't. Let me click on my white here, and I'm going to up this to like 130, 140. Now your card or your image does not have to be white. It can really be anything. I'll hit OK, and we got a couple sprinkled in here, but for the most part, we have everything we need except maybe that spot there and that spot there. Now I'm curious if I can add with the correct quick selection tool. No, it kind of just grabs everything. Let's see if I can make this smaller and grab it. No, okay. So I might just have to come back and paint that in, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, right? But we have most of our selection here, missed there as well. And what we're going to do is come down here to the adjustments layer down here, and we're going to add a hue and saturation. And what that's going to do once we change it to colorize, it's going to allow us to adjust our color of what is selected. Right, so as I start moving these around, we should see the color of the car start to change. But notice that we have stuff down here changing as well, and that's because it found that color whenever I was adjusting it. Right, so you're gonna have to change the lightness once you find a good color, because you don't want to end up washing out your car, right? So if we changed it to a black, right, it would look like that. Right, and if you just start to adjust these more and more, you'll start to get different colors. All right, so let's try this light green. All right, and it looks kind of funky. Well, there we go. There's light blue. Let's do light blue. All right, and it sort of, moved it down here as well. And it just replaced everything that's like kind of white in the image, right? Including some reflection on here, which we don't really want to keep, right? But what we can do after we select off of it, right? This is our image now. Looks like the same thing, but we have things that are blue that we don't want to be blue, like over the headlights. We have the ground, right? So what we can do to change that, even on the wing, the reflection's a little bit blue, but you can leave that because that might actually be, how it looks with the reflection, right? So what I can do to get rid of that is in this mask, right? So I'm changing this by holding Control. Everything that is white on this is being changed to blue. Everything that is black is not. Right, so I'm holding Alt and just clicking on this hue saturation image on the layer here. Right, if I Control click it, it changes to selection. So Alt click will change it to this view. And what I'm going to do is just go through. I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm going to change it to something like this with a 0% hardness. Right, and what that's going to do is allow me to just paint this black to get rid of all of that blue that I have in my image on the ground, that is, right? So if I hold Alt and look, you can see where my brush stops. So I'm basically painting out, including here, right, things that I don't want to turn blue. And this takes a little bit of time, but like even on the wheels, I don't want my wheels to reflect blue. I don't want anything back there to reflect blue. I don't want on my wing, like you could leave that, but I don't want stuff up here to reflect blue. Right, and it'll get harder as you get closer. Like we'll zoom in. We don't want this. So on your keyboard, you have your brackets right next to your square brackets next to your backspace button. If you go with the left bracket, it makes it smaller. Right bracket makes it bigger. Right, and we're just gonna paint our headlights. And the reason that I chose a smaller hardness is because you get that feathered edge instead of that harsh edge that you get with a hard brush, right? So it feathers that end so it doesn't look, as crazy. So again, I'm just painting out my headlights here. I can zoom out. I need to paint out I don't want that to reflect, right? And this up here might need more time than what I'm giving it. But I'm just doing this for your example. I would definitely come back and do this a little bit better, right? But we want to make sure that there's no blue reflection on the windows where there shouldn't be, right? So I want to basically just have my body and that's it. So now whenever I alt click and go back, it looks more like, it looks like I missed over here. It looks more like an actual blue car now. It looks more realistic, right? So I would just have to come back over here and get rid of anything that I missed. All right, so that's color changing in a nutshell. Um, some images are going to be harder than others, um, but you should start to get better at it as we kind of move forward. So good luck. If you need any help, make sure you let me know.